2 years, that's how long you have to make the government pay when a TSA officer breaks something in your bag. And almost nobody our age ever files. It isn't a loophole, and it isn't a lawsuit. It's one of 12 things TSA already lets travelers over 60 do, published on their own website. Why does nobody mention them? A line moves faster when nobody asks. So today, I'm giving you all 12, plus the exact words to claim each one, and the one TSA's own site gets wrong. Number 12, the machine you can turn down. Let's start with the one everybody assumes is compulsory. You step into that glass booth, raise your arms over your head, and hold still. Most travelers our age have never once considered saying no to it. You can. TSA's published position is that passengers will generally have the opportunity to decline the imaging machine in favor of physical screening, a pat-down instead. One honest exception, because you deserve to hear it from me and not in the line. If your boarding pass has already marked you for enhanced screening, TSA says the scanner is required and there's no opting out. That's a small number of people, but it's real. For everyone else, that machine is a choice. Some have a device they'd rather not walk through with. Some simply don't care to stand with their arms over their head, which stops being a small thing after a certain age. One sentence at the front of the line, and an officer waves a colleague over. Your defense: ask before you step onto the mat, never after. Give yourself the extra time. A pat-down runs a few minutes longer. You are never required to say why. Magic phrase: I'd like to opt out and have a pat-down instead, please. That's the machine dealt with. Now, where they take you next is the part almost nobody knows to ask for. Number 11, the room with the door. This is the one I wish somebody had told my own parents about. If you're being patted down, it does not have to happen in the middle of the terminal, in front of the line, with people watching you and their bags. TSA's own words. At any time during the process, you may request private screening accompanied by a companion of your choice. No reason required. You needn't be unwell, you needn't be embarrassed, and you never have to explain. And a second officer of the same sex is always in that room, so you're never alone behind a closed door. Now, something that isn't in any procedure manual. A lot of us have things we'd rather not have examined in public. A surgical scar, an ostomy bag, a prosthetic, a catheter. There's no box on any form for dignity. There doesn't need to be one. Your defense: ask before the pat-down begins, not partway through. Request the room and your companion together. TSA words them as one thing. Name the person you want with you. Magic phrase: I'd like private screening, and I'd like my husband with me. While we're on pat-downs, there's something in that same procedure you've probably been politely asking for years without ever needing to. Number 10, the thing you don't have to ask for. A pat-down is conducted by an officer of the same sex as you. Not a favor, not a special accommodation, no form. It's simply how TSA says the procedure is done. So if a pat-down is about to begin and the officer isn't the same sex, something has gone wrong, and you're entitled to stop it, right there, before anybody touches you. I mention it not because it happens often, but because knowing it means you'd spot it instantly if it did. Confidence at a checkpoint is mostly just knowing what normal looks like, and it cuts the other way too. If you've ever worried that asking makes you look difficult, this is your proof it doesn't. Half of what people think they must request is already the standard procedure. Your defense: you don't request this one. You verify it. If the pairing is wrong, speak before contact, not after. Magic phrase: I believe this is meant to be done by an officer of the same sex, so that's what's supposed to happen automatically. Now, what to do on the day something doesn't. Number 9, the word that stops everything. Every so often, a checkpoint goes sideways. The officer's short with you, the instructions keep changing, or something just doesn't feel right. One word pauses all of it. Supervisor: I'll be straight with you. TSA words this differently in different places, and I've read all of them. On the body scanner specifically, it says, you may ask for a supervisor at any point. Elsewhere, it's framed as what to do if your screening didn't meet your expectations. Either way, the door is open, and no officer is going to tell you it isn't. There's a second person worth knowing about. TSA trains certain officers as passenger support specialists, people whose whole job is helping travelers through screening. Any officer can call one over. Your defense: ask calmly, once, raised voices end conversations. Don't argue the rule with the person at the belt. That isn't who can change it. Ask for a passenger support specialist if you want help rather than a complaint. Magic phrase: could I speak with a supervisor, please? Now we go from what you can say to what you never have to take off. Number 8, what never comes off your body. If you wear an insulin pump, a glucose monitor, a pacemaker, or anything else attached to you, this matters more than everything else on the list. The TSA's position is plain. You will not be required to remove a medical device attached to your body. Not for the scanner, not for a pat-down, not for anybody. Tell them before screening starts where it is and what it is. That's it. Expect a little extra screening around it. Usually, you touch the device yourself, then they test your hands. Quick, routine, and a great deal better than the alternative. A word on pacemakers, because it's the question I'm asked most. You aren't obliged to go through the imaging machine at all. You can decline it exactly as we covered a moment ago. Some cardiologists hand patients a device card for this. You don't need one to ask, but if you have it, carry it. The principle underneath all of this is simple. TSA has an alternative for nearly everything. What it doesn't have is a way to guess what you need. Your defense: say it first, before anything goes on the belt. Point to the device rather than reaching into your clothing. If a detached device is headed for the X-ray and you'd rather it wasn't, say so. Alternative screening will be arranged. Magic phrase: I have an insulin pump on my left side. It doesn't come off. I'll point to it. Stay with medication for a moment because there's a window that opens and shuts in about 4 seconds. Number 7, the 4 seconds nobody warns you about. You're allowed to ask that your medication be visually inspected instead of X-rayed. TSA says so plainly, but the timing is the whole ballgame. You have to ask before anything enters the X-ray tunnel. Once it's on the belt, it's gone through. Nobody at that checkpoint will warn you about that window. Someone carries a medication their pharmacist told them to keep away from radiation and sets the bag down without a word because the line is moving. The officer had no idea. The traveler didn't know what to say, and there's no undoing it. While we're here, nitroglycerin tablets and spray are allowed through, and so are your pills in whatever form you carry them. Your defense: say it at the bin, bag still in your hands, not at the belt, and not after. Take the medication out and hand it over separately. Expect a swab or a visual check. That's the normal trade. Magic phrase: before this goes through, I'd like a visual inspection of my medication, please. That's 6. Has TSA ever opened your bag? Tell me below. I read them all. The exact words are on a free printable card linked below. 6 to go, and 1 ends with the government writing you a check. Number 6. When they break it, they buy it. The one from the opening. TSA screens your checked bag out of your sight, and sometimes they open it. And sometimes something comes out the other end cracked, bent, or simply gone. Most people shrug and eat the loss. You don't have to. There's a formal claims process run under the Federal Tort Claims Act using a form called the SF-95, hosted on TSA's own website with a File a Claim button. 2 years from the day it happened, no filing fee. You'll get an acknowledgement in about 4 to 6 weeks, and they ask up to 6 months to investigate. If they deny it or sit past 6 months, you can take it to a U.S. District Court. Now, where most claims fall over. It has to name a specific date, a specific airport, what happened, and one exact dollar figure. Not a range, not about. A claim without a single specific number isn't valid, and it comes straight back to you. So the work is done at the airport, not at your kitchen table for 3 weeks. 2 honest notes. Claims get denied when TSA determines its officers never opened the bag at all, which is exactly why that little inspection notice matters. And a handful of airports use private contractors instead of TSA, in which case the claim goes to them. Your defense. Photograph the damage where it sits before you touch anything. Keep the inspection notice and the bag tag. Write down one exact dollar amount. A range invalidates the claim. Magic phrase, I'd like to file an SF-95 claim for property damaged during screening. That's what to do when they damage something. Now, something they never asked you to do in the first place. Number 5, the bottles you never needed. This has caused more needless packing anxiety in our generation than anything else on the list. TSA does not require your medication to be in the original prescription bottle. That's their own guidance. They recommend labeling it because it speeds screening up. Recommend, not require. Now the caveat, and I won't bury it. Some states have their own laws about labeling prescription medicine, and the TSA says plainly that travelers must comply with those. So the weekly organizer is fine with the TSA. Whether it's fine with the state you're landing in is a separate question worth 30 seconds of checking. Someone repacks the whole suitcase the night before, bottles rattling loose, and the sorted organizer stays behind on the kitchen table. Because somebody once said the bottles were required. Nobody with the authority to say it, and there's a cost beyond the nuisance. A pill sorted into a Tuesday slot gets taken on Tuesday. 9 loose bottles at the end of a long travel day is how doses get missed. Your defense? Use the organizer. It breaks no TSA rule. Keep one labeled bottle or a photo of the prescription as your backstop. Check the labeling law of the state you're landing in if you carry a controlled medication. Enough about your bag. Let's talk about the person standing on the other side of it. Number 4, the uniform that isn't a badge. This one changes how a checkpoint feels, and I think it's the most useful thing on the whole list. The uniformed people screening you are transportation security officers. They aren't police officers. They cannot arrest you. If they believe a crime has occurred, their job is to call the airport's law enforcement. And every commercial airport must have officers on hand who do have arrest powers. I want to be precise because precision is the point of this video. TSA as an agency does employ federal law enforcement officers, air marshals for instance. But the screener at the belt is not one of them. Now, that isn't permission to be difficult, it's the opposite. It means the person opposite you almost certainly wants this to go smoothly every bit as much as you do. And a disagreement at a bin is a disagreement, not an arrest. Your defense. Stay polite and stay still. Nothing at that belt requires you to be frightened. Ask for a supervisor rather than arguing the point. Never joke about what's in your bag. That one genuinely does summon police. Magic phrase, I'd like to sort this out with a supervisor, please. That's the checkpoint on the way out. Coming home from abroad is a different building, a different agency, and completely different rules. Number 3, your phone here and your phone at the border. The internet gets this one wrong constantly, so let's do it properly. At a domestic TSA checkpoint, your electronics are screened as objects. TSA's published procedures are about detecting threats, X-ray, and at most being asked to power a device on. TSA publishes no authority to demand your passcode, but almost nobody separates what comes next. Coming back into the country from abroad, you aren't dealing with the TSA. You're dealing with Customs and Border Protection. And CBP's published rules are completely different. CBP states in writing that travelers must present devices in a condition that allows examination and that a locked device may be detained. One saving grace worth carrying with you. CBP also states that a U.S. citizen will not be denied entry to their own country over a device that couldn't be inspected. The device might not come home that day. You will. For most of us, this is a thing to understand rather than a thing to do. The vast majority will never have a device looked at twice, but knowing where a rule actually lives is the difference between being careful and being afraid. Your defense. Know which agency is in front of you. The checkpoint and the arrivals hall are two different worlds. Charge the device before you fly. A phone that won't power on invites a longer conversation. Now, I promised at the start I'd show you the one TSA gets wrong. This is it. Number 2, the one TSA gets wrong on its own website. There are 2 live pages on TSA.gov about screening passengers 75 and older. One says you may leave on your shoes and light jacket. The other says you may leave on your shoes. However, removal of light jackets is required for the imaging machine. Same agency, same subject, opposite instructions. The main screening page settles it, and not in our favor. Anyone in a light outer garment is asked to remove it for the scanner. No age exception. Blazers, windbreakers, vests, sport coats, and there's a second half you'll enjoy even less. That shoes-on business stopped being a senior benefit some time ago because the department ended shoes off for everybody. So if you've been quietly pleased about a perk for our age group, I'm sorry to say it's now just how the line works. What's still true at 75 and over, if an alarm goes off and they need another look at your shoes, you can ask them to sit down while they do it. Your defense? Wear the jacket you don't mind taking off. Don't argue the jacket. TSA's own live page backs the officer. Ask for a chair. That part is still yours. Magic phrase? If you need me to remove my shoes, could I please have a chair? And that brings me to the one I built this whole video around. Number 1, the rule that was never about ounces. Because it undoes something most of us have obeyed for 20 years without ever needing to. Medically necessary liquids may exceed 3.4 ounces. They don't have to fit in the quart bag. They don't have to fit in any bag. The TSA says it in those words. That covers liquid medication. It covers the ice packs keeping it cold, as long as they're completely solid when you reach the officer. Slushy counts as a liquid, so freeze them hard the night before. There's exactly one thing you must do, and if you skip it, none of the above protects you. You have to tell the officer at the start of screening. Not when they find it, at the start. So what actually counts? Liquid medication, plainly. Saline. Nutritional drinks somebody medically depends on. Baby formula if you're traveling with the grandchild. The word doing the work is necessary. This isn't a way to carry full-size shampoo through a checkpoint. And now the real cost of not knowing this one. The people caught out by it were never stopped by security. They left the medication at home. They split doses, packed less than they needed, and spent a week away slightly unwell rather than risk an argument at a belt. That's the price of a rule that was never a rule. Your defense. Take it out of the carry-on and present it separately. Declare it in your first sentence before anything moves. Freeze gel packs were completely solid the night before. Magic phrase? I have medically necessary liquids to declare, and they're over the limit. 12 things. And not one of them hidden or clever or a favor. Every one is already written down in public by the agency itself. All it takes is a sentence, said at the right moment. But everything I just gave you happens after you've already paid for the trip. There's a whole separate list of travel costs you never have to pay in the first place. And that one surprised even me. It's sitting right beside this video. Go and claim those too.